guys, welcome to another episode of the Suburban Driving with Miranda. This week I have something a little bit more powerful, and it is actually kind of practical. It is the BMW X5M competition. Let's go for a drive. So here we are in the X5M. Now, full disclosure, because I'm all about that, I drove this thing many years ago and I disliked it immensely. And the reason I disliked it is because I didn't see it as a viable SUV. You couldn't tow with it. It was way too powerful. It was meant for the track. You were spending all that money to never use it as it should properly be used. So why spend all that money when you could just get the top trim level X5? Why do you need the M version? That was many years ago. So I'm in it now. And as you can see, this isn't the normal attire, so I'm about to head to the mountain to snowboard with my son. So we are actually using the X5M as it's meant to be used. It has a few snowboards in the back, it has our boots, it has a cooler full of food because we're not allowed in the lodge because the world is the way it is right now. And it's driving normally, even though it has a V8 twin turboed 617 horsepower 500 and something pound-foot torque engine, which is insane and highly unnecessary. And the speedometer also goes to 330 kilometers an hour, which my son, who is back there right now, pointed out to me as soon as we got into the car and said, "Oh my God, Mommy, look how fast this thing goes." And I said, yes, well, it can go that fast, but it won't while we have it because we don't live on a racetrack, sadly. So it has an enormous amount of power that you likely won't use, but if you have to, it does it really in a civilized way, and it does it gently, and it has an 8-speed MDCT, so it's the BMW or an M DCT, so M dual clutch transmission. So kind of like Porsche's PDK, which is the Porsche double coupling, which is again the dual clutch. So there's two gears that are engaged at all times, so there's no lag, there's no jerk, there's nothing, you know, the gear in front is engaged, the gear below is engaged, and it's ready to go on either side no matter what. And it makes a huge difference when you're driving. And truthfully, I've used the paddle shifters a few times, but I don't need to because this thing reacts so quickly on its own that I don't need it. It has an enormous amount of power when you want to when you want to accelerate. And the sound from the exhaust in the back, when we started in the morning, I actually feel sorry for our neighbors because it is so enormously loud and it idles really heavily. But on the other hand, I really like it, and I love that I can hear the engine and hear the exhaust out the back. I have an exhaust button down here, which obviously is engaged at all times, so it makes sure that it is extra loud. I could probably turn that off to help my neighbors in the morning, but no, I like the way it sounds. So it has a really good V8 sound. It's been a while since I've driven a high-powered BMW, and I am not disappointed by this X5M. I was in the past. Now, I think I kind of get it. You know, this thing starts at $145,000. This is not a cheap vehicle, but at the same time, you are getting everything that you would expect from something costing this amount of money. So inside, I get these gorgeous race seats, which you can see here. They are also heated and cooled, and they massage. Trust me, we've all tried it. They are very comfortable. I get a cup holders that cool and heat my drinks. I get gesture control up here. I have head-up display. I have fragrance control inside. If I want to make my cabin smell a little bit nicer, I can do it. You know, this thing does all the things. It can even park itself. So those dollars that you're spending are actually going towards a lot of things. You're not just paying for that badge out the front. You're not just paying for the prestige. You are paying for the vehicle to do everything that you would hope a vehicle that costs this amount of money does. Now, I have the X5M competition series. So what does that give me? So the competition package is actually $17,000 on top of the base price. And that's what gets me all of the little extras, like the shades in the back. I think they go up on the sides, that you'll be able to see back there. You have it there. There it is. So the shades in the back, that gives me the, it's all of the extras that you wouldn't think were extra in the X5M, but they are, and they will be listed here because I can't remember them offhand. But when I was reading that $17,000 package, I was a little bit shocked that they were actually extra. All that to say, do I think it's worth it to have the X5M and X5M competition? Is it worth it? If you have the money to spend on this and you want an SUV that is actually semi-practical, you'll see like the trunk is a decent space. I love that it has the dual open trunk, which you will also see. It drives well. It doesn't have to be balls to the wall every single time. You can drive this vehicle like any normal SUV that doesn't have 600 plus horsepower. It doesn't have to be so crazy every single time, which is nice. But if you want it to be crazy, you have M mode and you have the paddle shifters and you can adjust everything. You can take it to the track, but you can also take your kid to school or the mountain or go snowboarding or load the back with groceries and not break the eggs. And I think that's super important. And I've said it before, these vehicles that live double lives, that can do both, are so valuable, because you don't want a vehicle that you pay all this money for and then you can't use it every single day. That would suck. Does the X5M do it? I think now it does. I didn't feel that way in the past. If any of you look back in my many years of history, I really disliked this thing in the beginning, including, and the X6M as well. I thought they were stupid. I thought they had no place in the market. Even with the Grand Cherokee SRT, it couldn't tow. It was too powerful. You'd never use that amount of power. And I didn't see a place for it. I think I see a place for it now. And if you have the dollars to put towards it, you will not be disappointed in the X5M. It drives like any other BMW would. It's dynamic, it's connected, it doesn't feel heavy, it corners really nicely. There's not a lot of lean. You can adjust the suspension, you can adjust the throttle response, the steering response. Everything is customizable, which makes a huge difference as well. And it just makes the drive that much crisper and that much tailored to your needs and how you're driving, and that in turn enhances your drive behind the wheel. So yeah, needless to say, I have had a very good week behind the wheel of this vehicle, and it was a good car to start 2021 in. So here's looking up. Inside the BMW X5M competition is a very nice place to be indeed. As you can see here, these red leather seats are so comfortable. Not only that, but they massage and they heat and they cool if needed. I also have a heated steering wheel. It's a nice M steering wheel, obviously, so a nice M stitching, really nice and thick. I've got carbon fiber inserts. I have a Bowers & Wilkins entertainment system speakers. They're beautiful to look at and they sound really good. I've got, you know, my M encrusted headrests, and all the parts of the chair can move in 22 different ways. But it's a massager that's really nice. It is quite good, especially after snowboarding, which you can see we survived. Everything worked out. Otherwise, it's pretty typical BMW fare in here. I don't have the crystal shifter this time, but it's okay. It makes up for it with a really nice M stitch. Well, not even a stitch, sorry. An M indented leather shifter knob. And then I've got my nice bright red start engine, which it is appropriate that it is bright red because it is a bit like a jet engine starting, especially on these cold mornings. I felt bad for my neighbors a couple times, but really such a nice sound. I'm sure they didn't mind it. I got a really nice big screen here. I do have gesture control available in this, but it's turned off, thankfully, because as you can see, if I'm talking and I'm doing this, then you can turn the volume up, you can turn the volume down, like you saw in the X5 45e, same type of system. Really nice big digital gauge cluster here as well. I have a head-up display as well. Really nice big moonroof, which we also discovered has some pretty cool light up inserts at night that give a really nice ambient effect in the car, and then that same lighting tracks through across the dash, on the doors, inside the speakers in the doors. Everything about the interior of this car is just really luxurious and comfortable. You know, even down here I have cup holders that can cool or heat your drink, or keep it warm rather. It won't like make it boil, but it'll keep it warm. I have a charge pad as well for really nice big center armrest here that also heats up. So when you turn on the heated seats in this car, the armrest on this side heats up and the armrest on your door heats up. I have them on now and it's nice and warm. And that little touch actually makes a big difference. You know, when it's super cold here and you're driving, and just to rest your arm and you feel that nice little glow of heat come up through your forearm, and it's like a nice warm hug from your BMW. In terms of size in here, oh, and again, my son pointed out that he thought it was small in the back, and these seats are very large. They're very wide, so if there is a passenger or the seat is pushed back on his side, he doesn't have a whole lot of legroom. However, in terms of headroom and visibility and general backspace, even in the trunk, I was pretty impressed, and especially with all the snowboarding gear and everything. And I really like how the trunk opens just like the X5 45e. It's got that double opening, so the little bottom bit that pops down, so useful, especially when we're snowboarding. You know, it gives you a nice spot to, you know, put your board, set everything up, check your bindings if you want to. Owen was able to sit up on there, put on his boots, he ate his snacks up there. And it's comfortable, and it is practical. You know, when I drove this car years ago, I said this in the drive, that I was really like, why would you pay all this money and have a car that can't even, or have an SUV that can't be a proper SUV? Well, I think BMW has made those improvements to this vehicle and really made it as practical as it is dynamic and fun to drive. What I will say though is that, you know, initial price tag aside, cost of ownership will be high. I just filled up. I had about a quarter of a tank left, and this requires a minimum 93 octane gas, which at the moment was sitting at 135. So it cost me about $100 to fill this thing up, and it wasn't even completely empty. And it does drink gas rather quickly thanks to that V8. And so you will be at the pumps often, but if you can afford a $150,000 car, I'm pretty sure you can afford 93 octane gas at least once or twice a week. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss this one. I'm a little bit sad that I'm giving it back today, but it's been fun, and I was happy to bring in 2021 with this amount of power and prestige and handsomeness as well. Looking at the BMW X5M competition, it's immediate that this is not a regular X5. So you've got the flared out fenders, you've got the much larger, beefier front bumper, you've got the splitters in the back, the diffusers, plus the quad tailpipes that are really quite large. So this definitely sets itself apart from BMW's other SUVs, and it looks decidedly M without being too brash. And I really like that about BMW M cars. You know, from the M3 to the M4, even the M235, which wasn't a real M car, but it had the M in front, or even the M40 right now. You know, they're a little bit muscular, they're a little bit different, and, you know, I mean, adding the M on the back makes a huge difference too, but it catches eyes on the road. You know, it gets second glances, and then of course you hear that exhaust note, and that obviously makes you turn your head as well. But this is a really nice, sophisticated, grown-up looking SUV. It doesn't look super racy, which is nice. Even though, you know, the speedometer goes up to 330 and you can take it on the track, it doesn't look necessarily like it could do that. I mean, yeah, it's sitting on 21-inch wheels right now. And like I said, the really beefy bumper up front and the diffusers in the back. So you see it's something different. But otherwise, you know, this is classically BMW. And I really like the design of the new X5. I think they did a great job with it. It has all the right angles. It has all the right muscles and shoulder line. And it's gorgeous. All right, guys. Well, that's been it for me and the BMW X5M competition series. As you can see, this is a super fun car to drive. It is definitely a lot of dollars, but if you have them, why not spend them on this? Because it is a ton of fun to drive, and it, as I showed you, is actually quite practical. So, you know, you get both. As always, if you have any comments or concerns, you can hit me up at Miss Miranda L on Instagram or Twitter, or drop a comment below on the Suburban On Air, or find me on Facebook at Miranda Lightstone. Hope to see you guys back again next week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.